Oh, you got a list.
Don't worry, I have a list. Cowboy Bebop, The Big O, Wolf's Rain, Naruto, Code Glass, Wolverine, Star Wars Rebels again, Lex Luthor, Darkseid, Black Mask, God of War, Arkham Trilogy, Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, Dead Rising, Company of Heroes, Rogue Galaxy, Valkyria Chronicles, Dragon Age Origins. That's just to name a few.
Still forgot
Tom from Toonami, that's right. Like I said, the voice of many of our childhoods. Please, everybody, put your hands together for the one and only Steve Blum.
Oh, he's being escorted here. Everybody collectively, the Imperial March. Steve Blum, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Steve, thank you very much for joining us at Nickel City Con this weekend. How's it going for you so far?
Well, thank you for having me. It's going pretty good.
Your mic is right beside you.
Oh, it is? Okay. I was going to say,
Do I need to project? You guys are just going to trust me to do that. And that was their last mistake.
If we're ever going to trust a voice actor, it's you.
Oh God, don't do that. Don't do that. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you guys. Big hand for the troopers and everybody from Fire First and all the other organizations that are involved there. Thank you guys. I feel very safe. Rebel Legion. Right, I like those guys most.
So Steve, first time to Western New York and Buffalo?
I've been to Rochester before, does that count?
Yeah, it's Western New York.
Yeah, so first time to Buffalo though.
How's it treating you?
It's great. I ate all of your wings and I'm really hurting right now. Right here in the hotel. I know it's bad. I didn't have time to go out, but next time I'll do that. But I did go to Niagara Falls. That was pretty cool. And I ate a beef on web. That was good too. Right here in the hotel. It's all at once too. I ordered everything all at once. And just,
It's the only way we do it.
right?
It's good. So, we'll go through obviously a bunch of things. At some point, we're going to line up for questions for Steve, but we'll tell you when to do that. In terms of Star Wars Rebels, so the series just wrapped up here.
Yes.
What can you say now that that's over? Have you had time to reflect on the series? Like, what does it mean to you now that it's gone?
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I mean, Star Wars Rebels is just one of those shows that you never think you're going to get in your career. It's an amazing thing. I've worked in the Star Wars universe for years in video games, in all those different franchises pretty much. But to actually get to play a character that's introduced into the canon for the first time based on a Ralph McQuarrie design with an incredible cast and helmed by Dave Filoni is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's amazing. So I've sort of been mourning it for the last year because we kind of knew it was coming to an end before everybody else did, but not too long before that. And I think it really hit me when we were at Celebration, I think, and Dave Filoni got on stage and announced it to the world that we were finishing up. And as painful as that was, it was really great that he had the chance to finish the show the way he wanted, and they didn't have that opportunity in Clone Wars. So as a Star Wars fan, that gave all of us some solace. But for us, it continues on. I feel like I'm still part of the family. Lucas is an amazing company to work with and work for. And we still get to go up to the ranch once in a while. I got this up to the ranch.
I noticed that. It's very cool.
Yes, it's amazing. I get to stay at Skywalker Ranch. It's amazing. And I fanboy out every time I go. It's ridiculous. It never gets old. And I still stay in touch with everybody in the crew, including Dave. And they're on to other things now, but we actually play a tabletop game online. Freddie Prinze Jr. just released it to YouTube a few days ago. And it's called Geg Wars, if you guys get a chance to check it out, G-E-G-G. And we're not allowed to play our characters from Star Wars Rebels, so I'm playing a droid, and he speaks sort of like Hoppy Firestein. It's really, it's quite off-putting. You don't see droids who speak like that very often. But we stay in touch all the time. We've been in touch through this weekend, and we go out to dinner. We are that family. We became that family. So it's very unusual for any show to have that lasting after effect.
Another big date on the calendar this year was that Cowboy Bebop recently celebrated its 20th anniversary from the first show date. When you look back on that, and you know now just how successful it was. How do you reflect back on it, knowing that it became, an anime icon?
Yeah, well, we had no idea at the time. I had worked on a lot of anime shows before we recorded Cowboy Bebop, and we kind of work in a vacuum. We're in a literally a rubber room, and by ourselves. It's just me and the engineer and the director most of the time, and we don't know if it's ever going to be seen by anybody out there. And at the time, it wasn't very popular in Japan, and anime was really hard to get at the time. It was very expensive, so we just made the best show we possibly could. And we were so happy to see that it was so well received in the States, because we thought it was an amazing show, too.
Why do you think it was so well received outside of Japan?
Well, there were a lot of factors involved. First of all, it's just cinematically, it's a genius piece of work. I think it's a perfect piece of animation from Watanabe-san. His vision was incredible. And he used a lot of American influence. He loves film noir, he loves American music, he loves a lot of the American culture. And I think he took a lot of the best elements of that and put that into this anime in a really solid, high-end form that was palatable to an American audience. And it was at a time where Toonami was really finding its footing too, and we were trying to bring anime to a bigger audience in the United States. And up until that point, it was a very small niche audience that would even watch dubbed anime. In fact, my life was threatened several times in the early days for ruining the art form, So it was just the right combination of elements. From the character design to the music to the storytelling, it was all just perfect, I think.
Do you take a particular sense of satisfaction now that most fans would consider you the true voice of Spike rather than the original Japanese voice actor?
I still can't take that in. That's tough because I'm just doing an Americanized version of the original piece of art, and my job is really just not to screw it up. So I'm glad that people feel that way. I'm honored that people feel that way, but my job is really to pay tribute to what was done before. So I'm just lucky to be part of it.
Now, I think Jeff and I had seen this online with your tattoo on your left arm.
Yes.
Can you explain to the audience the significance of that?
Yes, this is from the last episode of Cowboy Bebop, if you're familiar with the show. That is the word bang. It's the audio file for the word bang. And I ripped that right from the video, put it into my Pro Tools, took a snapshot of it, and took it to my tattoo artist. And I did that when I was there for a consultation for a much bigger piece. I have a lot of Hawaiian artwork that kind of goes all the way across my back. And so this was just a consultation piece. While I was there, he said, "Is there something you want to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I've only had one other tattoo before." And he goes, "No, what's really meaningful to you?" And I said, "Well, there's a show called Cowboy Bebop, and I'd love to get something from the show, but I don't want a cartoon on my arm necessarily." And so we were thinking about it, and one of my friends, an engineer, had a little sound wave, a little sound file around her arm of her. It was like a microsecond from her favorite symphony. And I thought, what a cool idea. I'm going to steal that, and I want to put it on my arm, and I was going to do it like this big. And the guy goes, "No, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger." And so we sort of compromised at this, but these are Polynesian tattoo artists, and they believe in the ceremony of getting a tattoo. And beyond that, he said that this would bleed if he didn't, it would turn into like a big blob if he didn't go over each line a bunch of times. So he dug in and did each line 8 times. And by the end of the tattoo session, it was a bloody pulp. It was just a big mess. And the 2 tattoo artists in the shop are old friends, and part of their cultural greeting is to play drums together when they haven't seen each other for a while. One of them was on tour, he'd just come back that day. So I just finished the tattoo, it was wrapped up in cellophane, bleeding all over the place. And I told him that I play hand percussion while I was getting my tattoo done. And he said, "Well, come play with us, be part of our ceremony." And I said, "Is that okay to do? I just had this done." He goes, "Yeah, man, come on, just do it." So I sat with them, and we're playing drums, and all of a sudden blood just starts squirting out of it. And it's squirting all over the drum, it's squirting all over the floor, and I go, "Oh my God, I'm getting your place all messed up." And he goes, "No, man, don't, brother, play." And these guys are just screaming, and it was amazing. It looked like a murder scene. It was so bad. But so I feel like everything that I do that's related to that show ends up having all of these other layers of meaning to them. It's pretty crazy.
I love that. I heard it earlier this week with a little bit of that story, and thank you for going more in depth. I thought that was awesome because I hadn't heard of people doing that before. I feel like maybe more musicians and artists would do that, but having a sound file on there.
Well, now they've got some kind of ink, I guess, that you can read the file. They'll actually imprint something. So this is before that. I could probably get this converted to that, but now it's kind of a thing. They actually have an app and you can just scan it and it plays whatever the sound file is. So I might convert it or just put a chip in me. I don't know. I know what it is.
So in studio, you've got a given job for your voice acting career, whatever it may be. Where do you find motivation for a specific role? Is it a lot of direction from the production staff there? Is it you digging deep, kind of having quiet time, finding, like, where do you find influence to do a given character? Where do you start?
It's a different answer for every show. Every show has its own nature and set of circumstances. If it's an anime production, generally we don't have any time to find inspiration. We walk into the booth, they might show us a couple seconds of footage and they shove a script in front of us and say go. And we just have to do it on the fly. It's all a cold read. If it's something like Star Wars Rebels or Transformers Prime or Wolverine the X-Men, we're reading in a full cast. And we do have the scripts a night or two before, so we get to read the scripts ahead of time. And as far as any kind of preparation for me, I wasn't classically trained, so I didn't really learn how to do that. I just have always gone from an organic place. My philosophy is just to make it as natural as I can and to make it something that I would want to watch and listen to. So I don't really stress over it. I try to stay out of my head and I look at a character design, and for Wolverine, it's the first thing that comes out. And in some cases, for a character like that, when I was reading the comic books back in the day, as many of us do, I hear those voices in my head. I imagine what those characters would sound like. And so that voice for Wolverine had already been in there. And I just had to wait till I was old enough and the voice had dropped enough so that I could get it out. And that was the first thing I did. I just went from an organic place and I just did that as my first read. And they happened to agree with me for that one. It doesn't always work, but that's what has worked for my career so far.
You've obviously done plenty of heroes, anti-heroes over the years, but I feel like you've got the best resume of villains to any actor. You've been Sauron, you've been Shadow's Novel, you've been Amon, Sessho Makoto. Do you prefer being a villain? Is there anything unique to it that really stands out for you?
I like working. I just like working, and you know, when you have a deeper range, they tend to hire you for villains a lot because it's scarier, I guess. I'm lucky. I'm just grateful that I get to do that. But I love villains because it is sort of a release, and I don't have to hurt anybody in real life. When I started playing a lot of villains early in my career, I was a pretty angry guy. I live in LA. I had to drive an hour and a half in traffic to get to every studio. So that by the time I got to the studio, I had plenty of rage going. But that's a healthy way to channel it out, you know, so that was cool. So it is really fun to play a villain because I do get to try to get into the mindset of why a villain would do the things they do. For somebody like Amon, it made perfect sense to him that everyone should be equal, nobody should bend. It makes no sense. The only one who should be in charge is me. That made perfect sense in his mind, and I don't think that way, so it's fun to actually step into those shoes and try that out. But on the other hand, it's great to play heroes too, and to save the day once in a while. Most of the heroes I tend to play are anti-heroes, like Wolverine. But even like the little characters, I love playing Digimon characters. It's, you know, after doing years and years of that, it's really fun to walk into the booth and
Get to be a little, sweet character who loves everybody and talks about friendship.
you know, it's kind of nice to do that.
Another big thing you got on the way this year, Fully Coolly Alternative.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about that premise, what your character is like?
I don't think I'm allowed to talk about that yet.
Is it as crazy as the original Fully Coolly, though? Can you at least tell us that?
From what I've seen, yes. But all I've seen are my parts. So I have very small parts in them. I'm playing several roles. And I don't know what goes on in the show because all I see, and especially in anime, you only see our scenes. And really nothing before or after, so I don't know what's going on, except that there is some crazy stuff that's going on. And
Is it anything like the original?
yeah, the soundtrack sounds amazing, and it's done by the guys at Adult Swim with the same people who made the first one. So it's really cool. They're investing a lot into this. They actually brought the whole production team back, and the guys from Adult Swim actually flew out from Atlanta on the day that I was recording just to hang out, and you don't see that on anime shows because it's just not very cost effective. But yeah, everybody's really excited about Fully Coolly, and I can't wait to see how it comes out. And I'm playing with some crazy guys.
I believe it. I can't wait to see it either. If anybody's got a question, please feel free to line up over here by the mic. Ask away.
Oh, it's weird there.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Just a little bit.
Okay. I'll sit over here so I can see you.
Steve, for maybe people who want to break into voice acting, maybe there's no specific answer with that, but what do you recommend?
Well, go to bloomfoxstudios.com. Actually, I've been asked this question so much over the years. There's a lot of different resources that you can go to. D. Bradley Baker has a free website that he put together. He's one of the greatest voice actors in the world, and it's called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. I've been referring people to that for years. Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt have a book called Voice Over Voice Actor. It's a really great primer on how the industry functions. And I started my own website, and I'm teaching classes every other Tuesday night live on Zoom format. And if you're interested in learning about voiceover, and it's reasonably priced too. That's always been a pet peeve for me, that a lot of voice teachers will charge thousands of dollars in some cases, and they either are not in the industry working every day, or it's just too much money. If you're just starting out, I think it's just too much money for people who may not be doing this as a career. And I believe that if you're investing in yourself, it's a great thing. But I don't like people to spend a whole lot of money at the very beginning, just because I want them to understand what the industry is before they make that investment. And so that's how I've designed my website. And when you sign up just to be on the website, putting in your email address, you get a free 45-minute video that kind of outlines everything that we're going to do. And then if you do sign up, you get 2 classes a month, and it's like $30 a month, two live classes. And you also get a newsletter that we put together, and we put in a bunch of stories and tips, and I do a product of the month of the products that I use in my voiceover career personally. And we do videos from all over the world. You guys will probably be part of this month's video too, with the footage I've been shooting. So if you're okay with that, well, I'm going to put it on the website too, so you guys will be famous.
I'm perfectly cool with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, so bloomfoxstudios.com. If you can't remember that, come over to my table. I have cards there.
A lot of good resources there. It sounds awesome. First question.
Hi.
What would you say was the character that you had the most fun doing?
Most fun doing? Wow. Man, I love them all. They're all fun for different reasons. It's hard. I can't pick one. It's been 30 years of doing this. So one of them that comes to mind just offhand would be maybe Crash Bandicoot. I only got to play him once in Crash Nitro Kart, and it was fun because I was a Crash fan. And just to get to say, it was awesome, I didn't have to say too many words. It was super fun. I love that because it was different from a lot of the stuff that I do. But yeah, if you ask me tomorrow, it'll be a completely different answer.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Steve, have you played the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy?
No, I haven't played games in probably 20 years. So yeah, I just don't have time.
I can imagine.
All the games that I'm in are shrink wrapped in my studio. It's sad.
Hi. What was it like working on the Digimon movie?
The Digimon movie?
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was, just work-wise, it was the same as going into any session, because it was the same kind of thing. They hand me a script, and I hear 3 beeps, and I start recording. So there's no preparation for it. I barely remember the movie now. I was Magnamon in that one, is that right?
Like Flamamon or something?
Flamedramon, the fire of courage. And Magnamon, I don't remember. I don't know, Black or Greymon maybe? Was he in that?
No.
No, okay, I don't know. It's been a long time, you guys. Come on.
I'll bet some of the voices blur together over the years when you've done so many.
Oh, they totally blur together. Yeah, I don't remember one production from another, but I do still have a poster from that movie in my brother's old bedroom at my parents' house, and it's all faded out now. My parents have left it up on the wall for some reason, so I do have that reminder of that. That was fun. I was excited just to be in a movie. That was cool. Thanks.
Yeah, how much swag do you get from all the production companies? You got loaded with.
My house is so full of swag, it's ridiculous. I beg for it though. I mean, especially like the action figures. I love the action figures. So I have my studio and office. I have shelves and shelves and shelves all the way up to the ceiling of crazy action figures and puppets and ridiculous stuff. So and a bunch in the attic too. I need to build a whole house just to house all.
Alright, first off, I want to say that Digimon is my favorite anime, and because of all the roles that you've done it, which according to the list I just checked was 45, you're easily my favorite voice actor. And I gotta know, out of all the different roles that you did in Digimon, which one's your favorite?
From all the Digimon?
Yeah.
Probably Guillermo. I love Guillermo. He's pretty cool.
And JP, also from season 4. Do you guys know JP?
Yeah, JP's
Of all the, it's so weird that I would resonate with that, but I basically was JP when I was growing up, and I was kind of lonely and insecure and bullied, and so I felt like I was actually playing me for a little while, and it was kind of healing to go through that and to see that a guy like JP could make it through with the help of his friends, and that's kind of what I did tue. So.
All right. Yeah, and just Guillermo is also my favorite of all the ones you've done.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Poromon was pretty fun too.
Just because you was a pimp puff. And it's a Yoli. That was cute.
Hi.
Well, first of all, thank you for making my boyfriend happy.
Nice.
So actually, my question is more Naruto related. I'm actually a fan of you being Orochimaru.
Oh yes. How may I be of assistance?
I made my OC daughter of Heavy, so I told you that earlier. But my question for you is, when you got casted to be Orochimaru and you got to be on it for a while, how did you feel knowing that you got to be that character?
Orochimaru was an interesting one for me. It was just fun. It was just so weird. Orochimaru was just so weird.
He is.
It made me happy to be a character that can throw up snakes and swords. I mean, how can that ever be a bad thing? And the fact that it creeps so many people out makes me really happy too. Because a lot of people come up to my signing table and they'll say, "I hate Orochimaru, and he's so creepy, but I love him." It's this weird relationship with him. So.
He's that villain that everybody hates, but you love him at the same time.
Yes. As long as they pay attention, that's all I care about. Where's Sasuke?
Oh my god.
Hey.
Hi, Steve, my question is, because I've been watching Toonami, for a long time, and kind of got me really into a lot of the animes and all the titles that I have watched. Out of all the Toms that you've been from Tom 2 all the way to the current Tom, Tom 5. Which one do you think is your favorite out of the out of all the Toms that you've voiced?
Probably the current one, because I still have the job. I love it. It's all, to me, it's all Tom. It's all the same guy. So to pick a favorite wouldn't make sense in my head. But I actually really like the current version of him, and I like that he's battle-worn too. I love the scars and how his armor's beaten up. I hope it stays that way for a while. I think it's kind of cool.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for watching. All right. Get those Pokemon.
Hi, Steve.
Hey.
So, who's your favorite voice actor to work with that you've acted opposite to?
Oh man, how do you choose one? It's like a family of 500 people. We are all one big happy family. Well, the number one I would have to say is Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. For those of you who don't know who she is, she was the director of Cowboy Bebop, of the English version of it, and she played Julia on the show, and we've worked opposite each other as actors for many, many years, but she's also my fiance in real life now. So yeah, even after 20 years, we've been friends for 20 years, and I've had nothing but respect for her as an artist. But to get to work with her now, under these circumstances, is the most fun I can possibly have in the booth. She's directing me on 2 different shows right now, on Tangled for Disney, and on a show called Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz that's on Boomerang. And just to see her on the other side of the glass as we're recording, it's so cool to see the person that you love on the other side of the glass. It's really fun. And then she comes into the room sometimes and voices with us too, and it's amazing to work with somebody that you really care about on that level. But for everybody else, I guess, I love working with D. Bradley Baker, just because he's a genius. Tom Kenny, he's a dear friend, and I made Mr. SpongeBob himself. He's on Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz with me too. Kari Wahlgren is incredible. I work with her on 2 shows right now. And the list, it's literally 500 people long, and they're all family to me now. We are very close friends. everybody in our community is very close friends. So Fred Tattash, I mean, oh my God, we'd be here all night.
It's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. The room was so
Hi.
quiet when I shut up. That's amazing.
First off, big fan, obviously. What role was the most rewarding, but at the same time you're like, I can't do that ever again. It was way too taxing. But if I could do it without all that, how hard it was, I'd totally do it again.
Wolverine is one of those characters. Wolverine hurts every time I do it. But at the end of each session, when I'm completely blown out and I need 2 or 3 days to recuperate because I don't have the healing factor, I just have to remind myself that it's worth it to do that for their characters, because that's what he goes through. That's a character who's in pain all the time. Every time the claws come out, it hurts. It'll heal up, but it still hurts every time. So even though it's super painful, it's probably the most painful character that I record, especially when he's doing battle scenes all day long. After the recuperation time, I'm ready to go again. And I'll play Wolverine as long as my throat holds out.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud. The rest there's are what you do. And what you do is pretty nice. Hi.
Hello. My question's, well, two-part question. What was it like working on Ogren and Dragon Age, and then Grunt and Mass Effect, and like what was like your inspiration for like those characters?
Wait, was the first one Ogren?
Yeah.
Oh, Ogren was great. It's always fun when you can play a drunk character because nobody cares if you screw up. And I got to tell my kids things like fart me a lullaby. He had the best lines, didn't he? Ogren had the best lines. Nug humpers, misery, vomit, and malt liquor reminds me of home. I love that guy. They used to tell me in those sessions that sometimes I wasn't sounding drunk enough, and they started offering me scotch. And I can't work intoxicated, so I never took him up on it, but I always wanted to. It was really funny. And then Grunt from Mass Effect. Grunt was awesome. Grunt I actually had to exercise a little more control with. Grunt, I know it sounds weird, right? But Grunt, we had so much to get through. He had so many lines, and I remember going into this session for the first time, and they handed me a script that was about that thick. It was like 1,000 lines that we had to do in 4 hours, and we had to do at least 3 different takes of each line because they didn't know where it was going to place in the game. And so it was just a matter of trying to establish the character, stay in the character, listen to my director, and crank through 1,000 lines in 4 hours. It was like a death match trying to get through that stuff. But at the end of it, you know, he comes out as this sweet barbarian baby with a great laugh. They let me make up the laugh for him, so that was kind of fun to have something that became sort of a signature thing for him, and sort of carries on now. So straight to the face, Shepard. It's pretty fun.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for playing, Shepard. Can I call you mommy?
Yeah,
Hi.
Love you. Come on, you can do better than that.
No, I can't.
I don't believe you.
That's Charles Martinet. Have you met Charles Martinet?
Fortunately, no.
Oh, the guy who plays Mario. If you guys ever see him at a convention, go see him. He's one of the sweetest people in the whole world, and he will do that for hours. I just have to tell you a quick story about him because you're a Mario fan. One time we were at a convention. When I first met him, we were in the green room and we were signing a bunch of posters of our characters for charity. And Charles had this poster that had all of his characters, Mario and Wario and Luigi and everybody on this poster. And it was just he and I in the room. He was by himself, and he's standing there going, "Oh, Mario, Luigi." He's going through each thing, and he's doing the voices for every single character as he's signing it, with nobody else in the room. For like 200 posters. He was in there for like 2 hours doing that. And I just sat down and I just watched him and I went, oh my God, this is the voice of my childhood doing a command performance for me. But he's that kind of guy. He plays the music at his table. It's like walking through the video game when you meet him. So anyway, but I digress. You had a question.
Well, my question was if you could do the voice. Clearly not. But I love your work, and real question, do you consider Wolverine a superhero or a villain?
Yes. he's an anti-hero. He doesn't really see himself as a hero, I don't think. Sometimes he does bad things. But I think overall he's a hero.
Okay.
He's one of the X-Men, man.
And maybe you get to do the voice.
Thank you.
By any chance, have you got to meet Hugh Jackman?
No, I've been trolling that man for a long time. I hit him up on Twitter every once in a while, and he does not respond. I don't know.
That's not cool.
I think he's jealous of my physique. I think that's what it is. No, I'd love to meet him someday. I love everything he does. I'm a big Hugh Jackman fan, and I would never want to play Wolverine in the movies just because I don't want to work out. I'm really lazy. I don't like memorizing lines, and he's much better looking than I am. So no, he's great at what he does. He's amazing. But I'm going to troll him until he finally answers me. Hi.
Hi, I'm a huge fan, of course. You're credited in a lot of games for things like Generic Soldier in Call of Duty, or the Brutes in Halo. Out of those not headlining characters, which one was your favorite to do?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow. Well, the Brutes in Halo was pretty cool because I just wanted to be in Halo. Because I thought it was cool, but those were painful. All I did was scream and die. I think my favorite characters that are largely uncredited would just be like stormtroopers in the Star Wars games. And mainly because, I forgot which game it was. It was the first engine where they had it where you could lift up the trooper and shake him around like a rag doll. I don't remember what that...
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed, yes, in that one. And my nephews would call me up and they'd say, Uncle Steve, I killed you like 48 times today. And I thought that was really cool. That was worth not having any big credits on it. I didn't really care anyway. I was just happy to play Stormtroopers in the first place. But to see that kind of reaction from my own family members was an amazing thing. But there's a great song by Vic Mignogna called Soldier A. If you haven't heard it, check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube. And he wrote this song. Vic is an anime voice actor. He's done a ton of stuff. Full Metal Alchemist is what he's most famous for. And he wrote a song called Soldier A about those kinds of characters where they might have like a 30-second lifespan. And he does this whole march kind of tune to it. It's amazing and what the voice actor actually goes through in that process. So if you want to get it from the horse's mouth, listen to that. It's pretty fun.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Hello again.
I'm still laughing, I'm sorry. So I asked a lot of other voice actors this question. What exactly drove you to want to even try out to become a voice actor?
I didn't know I was doing it. That was the thing, is I've been doing voices since I was a little kid, and just for fun. And at one point in my career, I was trying to be a musician. I was playing in an R&B funk band during the 80s. We were the only one in town opening for heavy metal and hair bands. And so you can imagine that was a pretty rough exercise. And I wasn't very good, but I loved music and I really thought that's what I was going to do. And to support that, because I was the only working guy in the band, and I had a truck so I could haul all of our equipment, I had to get a job to support that. So I got a job at this film company called Empire Entertainment. We made movies like Reanimator and Ghoulies and ultimately the Puppet Master movies. And I got a job in the mailroom, and the guy who was the head of the mailroom was casting for a Japanimation program called The Guyver. Yeah. You know The Guyver? Oh, cool. Guyver, so good. Yeah. Anyway, so I happened to have the deepest voice in the mailroom, and he asked if I would come in on the weekend and try out for this thing, and I went, no, I'm not an actor, man. Everybody else in the building was an actor except for me. I didn't care. I didn't care about film, I didn't care about TV, I didn't care about any of it. But he offered me free breakfast and lunch. And I was literally a starving musician, so I said, well, what's for lunch? And he said pizza, and I said, okay, I'm there. And so I show up at this audition, I think there's no way I'm gonna book this thing, but I get to hang out with all these really cool actors and watch what they do and eat free food. I'm in, sure. So I go down to the studio, and they called it the Cave. The studio was called the Cave, and it was built in a tree house. Half of the studio butted up against a hillside so that they dug out a cave, and the other part was supported by this crazy tree house. And the guy who owned it was this lunatic hard rock dude, and he rehearsed with his band up there. And this was all they could afford. This was the best studio they could afford, and they had no equipment. So we hauled all the equipment up there ourselves. None of us knew if any of us were going to get hired for this thing. But they brought all of the actors in at one time, which you don't do anyway for auditions or for recording sessions, especially for anime. And at one point, they finally got the equipment working, and they showed me some footage of this creature called a zoonoid, and this big drippy creature. And the scene that I saw was a zoonoid. I think he was ripping the arm off of another one and beating him with it, something like that. And so they said, well, can you match the movements of what the creature's doing on screen with your voice, and see if you can sync it up? And I said, yeah, I can probably do that. And with my musical training, it made sense to me because movement and language is a very musical thing. There are beats to it, there are pauses and changes in phrasing. And so I just look at this creature on the screen and I go, all right, you're hired. And I went, what? And they said, no, you're hired. We've got 26 episodes of this show and we want you for all of them. I went, oh no. Now I have to learn how to do this. This is terrible. And so the advantage that I had was watching 20 other amazing actors who have done this kind of stuff before perform. And I'm sitting there shoveling pizza in my mouth, watching what they do and just copying everything that they do. And eventually they gave me a speaking role on it. I played one of the main bad guys in that series. And it was totally terrifying, and I thought they were going to replace me every day, but they didn't for some reason. And it was just something I had a knack for. I had been doing it for a long time. I'd been reading stories to my kids in different character voices and leaving weird answering machine messages. When I first got my own answering machine, the first thing I did was put Goofy on there. And I went, yours, you've reached Steve, he's not here, leave a message. And I get this, the first day I leave that message on there, I get this wrong number. And the tape records everything, and I just hear this guy go, dude, that's crazy, I don't know who you are, but that was awesome. Click. And then a couple of seconds later, it rings again, and he calls back, and he had his buddies over, and he goes, you gotta listen to this, man. I just hear all this going on in the background. And so these guys are calling me, like every hour on air, he's calling all of his friends to start calling me. And after a couple of weeks of this, they said, dude, we love Goofy, but can you do anything else? And so I started taking requests. And so I would change it every week or two, and I just did it for fun. But I didn't realize that I was sort of building up my repertoire at the time. So once I started working quasi-professionally with the Guyver, I couldn't do those voices, but I got to bring in other things that I had played with for a long time. And I honestly just did it for fun. I loved to do it, and I loved the people I was working with. They were just fun, crazy people, and super creative. And so I just kept working at that same film studio for the next 14 years, and I became an executive at the studio. I was head of marketing. I had this corner office in Hollywood. I traveled to France for the Cannes Film Festival, and I hated going to work every day because everybody was so mean in film. But in the voiceover community, everybody was really nice, and I had fun doing it. And I made very little money, but it just filled me up. It made me feel good. So I quit that job, and I got 3 other jobs to support that career, to support me to be able to do voiceover. And for many years, it was like that. I didn't make a living at it. But that's what I always tell people who are getting into the industry for the first time is, if you're gonna consider doing this work, just do it because you love to do it. Don't plan on a career, because this is a big accident. What you're seeing up here is a big old accident. I don't know how that happened. But the point is that I got to do what I love to do, regardless of whether or not it was gonna become a career. So thank you for supporting me in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not firing me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello again.
Yes,
How you
hi. My question is there been any role that you auditioned for that you thought you would probably get, or thought you may have gotten, did really good in it, but didn't get it? Like, what was like one of those types of roles?
That happens all the time. I audition usually between 30 to 60 times a week. I'll have, on the average, about 10 auditions a night. And there are a few that come through every once in a while that I think, oh man, I'm really right for this. and then somebody else books it. I don't think about it too much because I'm working enough where I don't have to. But back in the old days when it was really sparse, I would really get upset that I wasn't getting hired, and that's another thing I tell my students from the very beginning, that once you do the audition, just leave it there. You've got to audition. And if you get the job, great. If not, chances are one of your friends is going to book it. So I try not to be disappointed. Every once in a while I am, but the one that really resonated with me back in the day was Batman. I've auditioned for Batman many, many times. And the only time I ever booked it was in Lego Batman. The first version, I was the original Lego Batman, but he was non-verbal. He just went, But because I did that, I could say that I played Batman and I got to go buy the action figure. That's all I really cared about. But then, when I auditioned for Batman, and then Kevin Conroy would book it, and I thought, oh, no, he's supposed to play Batman. That is Batman. That's my Batman. And I shouldn't be playing Batman. And it's so great. And then the people who have booked Batman since then, Troy Baker's done a great version of him, and Roger Craig Smith is playing Batman right now. They're wonderful, they're amazing at it, and they're my friends, and so I cheer them on. I'm really happy that they get to do it. And I get to do plenty of other stuff, so it's all good. But yeah, man, I can't even tell you how many things that I thought that I would book that I didn't. But it's okay, I'm good. I think I've done okay. It's all right. Thank you.
Hi again.
Go Power Rangers.
I was wondering if Digimon Tamers, which is season 3, if that ever got a sequel like Digimon Adventure recently has, would you come back for it?
Absolutely, I'm waiting for the phone to ring right now.
Yeah, man, of course. Yeah, if they hire me, I'll do it. I'm a voice whore. I'll do anything. Sorry, kids.
There's nothing else you take away from today. That's a good quote right there.
Hello again.
Going along with the other guy was saying, besides like Batman, is there any other superhero roles you would like to do?
I thought that I would be right for Superman too. I thought, just doing sort of the Stentorian superhero kind of thing would work for him. But everybody that I've heard who's played him did such a great job that I let it go. I think I'm more suited for Wolverine and more of the gruff, gnarly ones.
Punisher or something?
What was that?
Punisher?
Oh, Punisher would be good, yeah. I played, what was his name? Deadshot? The guy? Oh, Bullseye. The guy with the bullseye? Yeah. I played him in one of the games, and that was good enough for me. That was, I didn't care. I really don't care. As long as I get hired, I don't really care what it is. I'm just happy to work. Punisher would probably be a good one for me, just because I can fight, at least on the microphone, really well. Speaking of Punisher.
Hello.
Hey.
First of all, it goes you, Tony Oliver, Sonny Strait. Those are the 3 top male voice actors in anime for me.
Wow, thank you.
So both Lupin the Thirds and Krillin, but you sit right at the top.
Wow, thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to tell both of them.
To me, you're like sort of the Mel Blanc or Jim Cummings of the anime world for me. Because you're just like in everything.
Wow, thanks, man.
Yeah. So my question is, one of the biggest animes that ever affected me in life, and what drove me to want to become like a filmmaker and an animator, is Cowboy Bebop, but also Big O. You were Roger Smith and Big O, and you were fantastic at that. That was just a great anime all around. My question is, if they were to resurrect either series, which one would you want to see resurrected more? What do you think has more story to go through?
Between Bebop and
Big O.
For me, it would probably be Bebop, just because I'd love to see the origin stories of everybody. I'd like to see what brought them to where they are, and go back in time a little bit.
So like a prequel then?
Prequel stuff, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be an amazing story to tell. And they're doing a live action series, I heard. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for that. I know nothing about it.
I think you could play Spike in real life. I mean,
that's too much work. Again, I don't want to shave my beard off. I don't want to work out. Yeah.
You have to swallow a lit cigarette too if you're playing Spike.
I know. I try not to do that anymore. I mean, I did it for the show, but I'm not going to do it again. They're bad for you. Cigarettes are bad. Don't smoke.
Talk about method acting.
Next series, you'll see Spike on a vape. It wouldn't have the same effect, would it?
No, probably not.
If he swallows it, he'd be in the emergency room. It'd be awful.
You can't light it with a blowtorch either.
Hi.
Hi, I'm also a fan of Cowboy Bebop, and I've seen Big O and Great Teacher Onizuka.
Oh, nice.
And so a lot of those voices, especially with Cowboy Bebop's popularity, are kind of close to the timbre of your normal speaking voice. Do people ever recognize your voice when they hear you like, hey, you sound a lot like Spike from Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, it's funny. It's happening more now than it used to. I think just because I've been going out on the convention circuit, I've done a lot of videos and things, and so people are starting to associate that there's a human person behind those voices. But it's fun at home in LA. Nobody notices anybody because it's full of celebrities. But occasionally when I'm in line at the grocery store, I'll just see somebody next to me as I'm talking to the cashier. They'll just go, I know that from somewhere. And you just see the wheels turning in their face, and they can't figure it out in the moment. But I'm on my way out to the parking lot, and all of a sudden they check, and I just see this person screaming across the parking lot with their shopping cart, "Hey, are you the voice of Spike?" And it's so funny. It's almost always a delayed reaction like that, and I love that because usually I can get away before that happens. But it's nice. I mean, I love that, and I love when people do recognize that, and especially if it's a fond memory for them. It's really fun, and it's one of the greatest things about being a voice actor is that we're completely invisible most of the time, unless we're at a convention or something like that happens. And then we can have a real life. We have a normal life. I don't have to have security guards following me around. It's kind of cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We got time for one more then.
Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned how when you're in the grocery store, people kind of recognize you when they don't. So I asked this question a couple of years ago with another voice actor. Have you ever used your voices for evil? As in, like, if you go to McDonald's and you use a voice to like order food or something?
I have done that. Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, and it usually backfires. It's pretty bad. It's not for evil. I just like to fool around with people.
Like, for fun, you know?
Well, one of the things that I used to love to do is to go to Disneyland and walk around behind the Goofy character and do the voice. And they have no peripheral vision at all. So it's like, how you doing, Goof? And it's like, you're used to little kids coming up and slugging them in the stomach and stuff, but this is just mind-bending for them. They can't deal with it. And they're just sweating in the suit already. It's just really uncomfortable. So I guess that would be a little bit evil. But the other time I got really busted for that, I was in a Toys R Us and I was buying a character, one of my little action figures, because I'm a nerd and do that. I think it was a Guilmon character or something, and there was a little boy, probably 5-6 years old, who had the same character in his hand. And I leaned down next to him and I went,
I do his voice on TV.
and the little boy looks up at me and he goes, he could not put it together that voice would be coming out of this old dude's face. And his mom looks over at me and she goes, "What did you say to him?" She comes after me with her purse and she chased me down the aisle screaming her purse. She thought I was like a child molester or something. It was awful. So I don't do that very often, especially with kids, because it's so out of context for them. When I used to go to my kids' schools and read stories for them, especially once my career had really become established. And I would do Dr. Seuss characters, and I would read every character voice differently for them. And when I thought I was doing a really great job, and I'm this professional voice actor, and boy, are they getting a treat today. I'd get about 3 sentences in, and one of the kids from the class would just go, "No, Mr. Blum, do it again, that's not right." I go, "What?" Like, oh man, this is harder than real work. But they became my teachers too, so it's fun. You have to be careful, with great power comes great responsibility. And this is the only superpower I've ever had, so it kept me alive when I was getting bullied, and kind of got me through when I didn't know how to do anything else. So thank you, it was really fun.
I don't think there's any better way to end this panel than with that recollection. That was perfect. Steve, thank you so much for coming out here to Buffalo and coming out to Nickel City Con. I speak on behalf of everybody in this room and everyone who's met you this weekend that we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
It was an honor.
Thank you.
Steve Blum, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everybody that works here too. Please thank the staff members that really, really all have a good time. Love you guys. Thank you.